Hiya, folks. This is Rick Emmett of Triumph.
This is Mark Merrill, also known as Johnny B. Bad.
Hi, this is a best-selling author. I threw the best-selling in there. Best-selling author Dick Wybrow.
I'm Melanie from Second Shooter.
This is Jeff with Second Shooter.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Allen from Bridges of Blaze.
Hey, this is Sammy Lee, drummer of the band Red Rain.
Yo guys, it's Mark McKay.
Hey, this is Frank Fletcher.
Hola amigos, this is Billy Sheehan.
Hey guys, this is John Karabi.
Hi, this is Jim Valance.
What's up everybody, it's Logan from All the Pretty Things.
Hey guys, it's Leba Leone.
This is Nothing from Inside the Trojan Horse.
What's up guys, Cassandra Carson here from Paralandra and the Life Project.
My name's Reggie and you are listening to the Weekly Pour podcast. Thanks so much for joining the most amazing twosome out there.
The most amazing things that can happen to a human being will happen to you if you lower your expectations. Welcome to the Weekly Pour podcast. Here are your hosts, TbT and Ace.
It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time. Those were the words of the Osbourne family. Ozzy Osbourne, the iconic rock vocalist known as the Prince of Darkness, died Tuesday at the age of 76. John Michael Osbourne was born on December 3, 1948 in Aston, Birmingham, England, the fourth of 6 children to parents Jack and Lillian. During his career, he has sold more than 100 million records worldwide as a member of Black Sabbath and as a solo artist. During that time, Ozzy accumulated 5 Grammy Awards on 12 nominations. In March of 2002, Ozzy and his family turned on the cameras and put their entire life on MTV for the whole world to see. It was the birth of the Osbournes. While it only ran for 4 seasons, it changed the world of reality TV. On July 5, 2025, Ozzy took to the stage one last time, alongside original members of Black Sabbath for the first time in nearly 2 decades. That concert set a new record for the most money ever raised for charity at a single show at nearly $200 million. Ozzy's voice may be quiet now, but the storm he started still rages. He wasn't just a legend, he was metal. A scream in the dark, a force that cracked the sky and rewrote the rules. We don't say goodbye to Ozzy. We raise the horns, we blast the records. We feel that thunder on our bones and we keep it alive. The Prince of Darkness may have left this world, but his reign continues every time the volume hits max. Our thoughts are with the Osbourne family, and the Weekly Pour podcast proudly celebrates the life, the legacy, and the eternal power of Ozzy Osbourne. Fitting tribute, I think, to Ozzy. Welcome, everybody.
They got me.
This is episode 144, 144 of the Weekly Pour podcast. I am TbT. I get over there's Ace. I don't even know where to start. You and I were just
where
talking
to
before.
Begin?
Yeah, we were talking before we went live, and you know, I guess jumping right into it, a lot of people with this tragedy, if that's what you want to call it, and I'll get into that in a minute. There's a lot of people that are more than saddened. They are crying. They are mourning at, their own way of doing it. For us, this is probably the first super large, super, big metal icon that I can think of us losing. Other than who you mentioned before we went on the air.
One other, Lemmy.
Oh, absolutely. And that's my fault for not remembering that.
People still talk about Lemmy and Lemmy's passing, and I hear more about Lemmy Kilmister after his death than I did when he was in Motorhead and all of that. And
right,
and it's fitting to mention Lemmy because he contributed to some Ozzy Osbourne music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wrote "Mama, I'm Coming Home," and wrote what is the one I'm thinking of? Mr. Tinker Train. Was that it? Might have been that one.
Hell, I don't remember.
No, or Hellraiser. It was Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Lemmy talked about the royalties on "Mama, I'm Coming Home" and how that actually made him more money than he ever made in Motorhead because Ozzy did it. You know, it was an Ozzy thing.
Right. Let me jump in real quick. I want to thank everybody that's in the chat already, everybody that's in there watching. Of course, we've got a lot of our regulars in. The Viper was the first in. Mama TBT's in. Kathy, of course. And yes, Kathy, third does count. I know that somewhere Mrs. TBT's in there. We've got some people already, in talking about when they saw Ozzy the last time they did. Viper just mentions 20, well, I missed it, 1992 up at Deer Creek. Zachary, who's
Yep.
in, no worries on making your post long. It's no big deal. That's what the chat's about. He says, my intro to Sabbath was in 1996 after hearing The Mob Rules from the soundtrack to the 81 cult classic film Heavy Metal. Dio was first, Ozzy was second. Yeah, welcome in, by the way, Zachary. It's good to see a new face in.
No matter how you got there, you got there. You know, if you go backwards, you still got there. So it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, as a matter of fact, I've been listening to Ozzy's Boneyard on Sirius XM. And of course, they're playing nothing but Ozzy, and then they're playing Black Sabbath. And I'm rolling into work this morning, and a Dio Sabbath song comes on. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
one of two things. Either one, it was just because it was titled, by Black Sabbath in that library. Or number two, whoever's putting that together didn't realize that Ozzy wasn't the full-time lead singer for the entirety of Black Sabbath. So I kind of had a chuckle at that. Just one of those things. But the onslaught.
There are people that still think Steve Perry is in Journey. So
Oh, okay, this is true. Yeah. The absolute onslaught of dedications, of memories, flooding in from celebrities, people that you may not expect even. I was just going through some of this stuff because a lot of times, usually Ace and myself will have things pulled up that we're going to talk about, so that we get things right. We literally have nothing pulled up tonight, and that's just because there's nothing to pull up other than all of this Aussie talk.
right, right.
And normally, the title of our podcast is, the Weekly Poor Podcast episode, whatever. And we left that off tonight because we knew that this was going to be nothing but a show about Ozzy. Well deserving, in my opinion, as well. And we're not going to be our, normal chipper selves, I guess. We'll still be smartasses, but it's a somber time in the world of metal. Um, we were just talking about Lemmy. uh, his funeral was on TV. I mean, that was broadcast.
Right. So that right there tells you how not with Lemmy and Ozzy too, in a sense, but Lemmy wasn't as big a star as much as he was beloved
Right.
by the rock community and fans and all that. Ozzy transcends metal, the genre he helped create, but also incredibly beloved and in such a way. It's so funny when I was thinking about this today. He's got this moniker, Prince of Darkness, right?
Right.
Which sounds ominous on his face, but in some ways it's almost cartoonish because he was anything but the Prince of Darkness. This guy was your favorite uncle. He was your favorite grandpa. That kind of thing. I think the Osbournes TV show humanized him in that way. Um, you know, uh, it had to have because prior to that, all anyone knew was biting off bat heads and that sort of
Doves
thing.
pissing on the
Dove,
Alamo.
piston, right? And even that stuff comes down to almost schoolboy prankish type things. Nothing insidious
Right.
at all. So that moniker just stands out to me like ooh, Prince of Darkness, but really he's Ozzy. And it's almost like losing a family member in that sense.
Absolutely. There was somebody you're talking about, this this image of the Prince of Darkness, and I can't remember who I was reading about. It may have been a Judas Priest thing, but um, they were talking about one of the things they'll remember. Actually, I may have it pulled up, but somebody was talking about that one of the biggest things that they're going to remember was his sense of humor. More than, being, the voice of Black Sabbath, the biting heads and peeing and snorting ants and all this stuff. It was his sense of humor. We got a piece of that watching the Osbournes. His comments about eating burritos and drinking champagne, which I don't remember what he called it, but it was hilarious. He's just naturally funny guy. At least that's what we got to see as fans. And when that show came out, um, one of the things that I took from that was like, and I love this no matter where you're at and what genre of television or radio or whatever you're listening to. Um, it's the backstage stuff. We've talked about it a lot with like the WWE things that they go behind the scenes and you see what's going on. You're getting a taste of Ozzy as Ozzy the husband, the father, the friend, the guy walking around in his underwear in his own house, yelling at his little, Tinkerbell dog, and you're expecting him to have, Dobermans and, all these evil looking things. But, there's a difference
No.
between the stage persona and the home persona. And
Right.
unfortunately, in today's world, a lot of people want to grasp onto the drama, whatever it is they can get a hold of, be like, oh yeah. I mean, it's just like the PMRC, the Parents Music Resource Center when they wanted to, put all the record labels on because these people are all evil. The people
Right, and
weren't evil.
that's where that Prince of Darkness thing comes into play because Ozzy was one of the targets.
Right.
Yeah. For whatever reason. I mean, I've heard, and Ozzy's music is great. We all know that, but there's nothing on there, that would lend me to think it needed to be labeled. I know Suicide Solution was an issue,
Right.
but that comes up
All because of
with
the title.
right, right. But it's all also interpretation of what you're reading too. That's what art is. Art is interpretation. You can't take things literal and on their face. Ozzy's a lot smarter than that, and uh, he got all the flack, and he wasn't even the one writing the lyrics for those things.
Right. Well, not just that, these stories, this evil persona that everybody knows about Ozzy, this is some of the stuff that pushed him, to greatness, to being the prince, to having this throne to sit on. And I remember when No Rest for the Wicked came out. Oh, it's horrible. He's got a
Horrible.
song called Crazy Babies, and it's two little girls in the video, and oh, they're satanic.
Oh, Bloodbath in Paradise. That was
Oh,
on there.
yeah.
That was
Bark at
on
the
there.
Moon, he's evil.
But these things were more social commentary than anything evil. Was
Oh,
Miracle Man. Miracle Man is on that record.
right.
That was the most appropriate song for that time. You grew up around the same time I did, and there was nothing but televangelists on day and night, right?
Right.
And all of them were hitting a point in their televangelical career where they were kind of hitting a wall, and their own sins were coming out. And that's what we're exposing here. That's what Ozzy's saying. You're coming after me, but look in the mirror.
Yeah,
And it was a great message. We don't see
exactly.
those guys. We don't see those guys as much anymore.
No. No, because everything now's got to be, as much as they say they don't want it to be, it's going to be politically correct. I'm going to step back over to the chat real quick. Another comment that Zachary said, and I love this comment where he says, if it wasn't for the movie Heavy Metal, I wouldn't have gotten into Sabbath. I love that in the sense that we're talking about two different genres. We're talking movies and music. And we've talked, a lot about favorite soundtracks, metal songs and soundtracks, yada yada. Sabbath, with the song, it leads me to talking about Ozzy and what he did on television. Because a lot of people don't realize the amount of TV, the amount of movies where he would make, appearances. I don't remember if it was Roseanne or if it was the spinoff or follow up, whatever, the Connors. Him and Sharon were in an episode of that.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It wasn't very long. It was just a quick, maybe a 30-second thing, but it was hilarious. And it's just those little things. He didn't come across as, hey, I'm Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness. But you can find it on YouTube. You can probably find it on TikTok. You can find where the whole Bubbles thing, which will be hilarious for forever, when Sharon has his stage all set up and his part of his stage is blowing bubbles. and he's like, Bubbles, I'm the freaking Prince of
Prince of
Darkness,
Bloody Darkness,
not the Prince of Bubbles. But that kind of showed his sense of humor, but he was in numerous. Was he in Joe Dirt? Was it Joe Dirt or was it, what was that? Little Devil or something like that with Adam Sandler?
Maybe that one. I don't remember him in Joe Dirt.
Okay, maybe it wasn't Joe Dirt. Is it called Little Devil? I don't remember. Chat, help me out. Little Nicky. That's it. Thank you, Natalie. Director, moderator extraordinaire. Saved me. And thank you, Nat McFick, and welcome to you, Nat. I didn't see you pop in. Glad you did.
Yes, yes. Little Nicky.
Nat said something earlier.
You have something in Austin Powers?
Was that a question or a statement?
Yeah, I'm asking you. I'm on his IMDb page, and it says Austin Powers in Goldmember. But that would be funny. That would be, yeah. But yeah. Oh, wait, whoa! You were right. The Connors, one episode, 2020.
Yeah,
yeah, you were right.
It's him and Sharon. Him and Sharon sitting in a restaurant owned by the aunt on the Connors, Roseanne's sister in Roseanne, and they're sitting there, and the aunt. It's something to do with I don't know why they're sitting there, but they keep checking her out, and she's talking to her niece, and she goes up to Ozzy and Sharon and basically says something to the effect of, "I'm no longer in that lifestyle, so I'm sorry, you guys will have to go." And they look over at the niece and say, "Well, what about the boy?" And she says, "Well, I'm not interested either." And that was it. But it was the fact it was Ozzy and Sharon. It's funny. And apparently Ozzy was in Goldmember. I just I used the Googles.
Right, right. I've got a couple things listed. Romeo and Juliet, which was an animated type thing, probably providing a voice. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't watch that one, but you know, the sense of humor too probably comes again with the television aspect of it. The personality comes out,
right?
More so. But I'm just amazed at his story. His story is one of the ones that fascinates me the most, because this is someone that had Sharon not found him, may have died when he was 30, because he was easily he was so inebriated all the time and just wallowing in his sorrows over his ouster with Sabbath originally, or however you look at it. It's always, one story says he was fired, the other says I quit. It's always like that,
right?
But that fascinates me because she saw something in him. It's almost like when Eddie Trunk always tells the story about signing Ace Frehley. Ace was in the same boat. He was outcast. He was an alcoholic at the time. He's not even playing guitar.
Right.
And Sharon saw something in Ozzy that said, hey, this guy could be something. I don't know if she saw how big he could be, but I don't know if anyone saw how big he was going to be or could be. But
Was there any truth? Because I don't know. Was there any truth to the fact that she actually suggested Ronnie James Dio to replace Ozzy and Sabbath? I've read that somewhere.
I think I may have heard that before.
Okay.
I
I
I,
didn't know if
I
there
don't
was
know
any
how
truth
true
to it.
that is, but I do know Ronnie James Dio was one of those guys that when they found him, wrote a song within minutes for them. Off the first record, Heaven and Hell. Like they wrote that song in just minutes. He's one of those guys that just, let's talk about a rainbow and a dragon, and here we go. That kind of thing.
Yeah. We mentioned a little bit earlier about the different bands, rock and metal. Well, not just rock and metal, pop as well, which I'll mention in a second. A lot of these bands were paying tribute to Ozzy on stage because a lot of people, it's summer, everybody's on tour. Um, and there were a number of dedications, cover songs, images, and there was a few of them that I caught. One of the big ones that I first saw about was Alice Cooper. Um, and I'm going to read a statement that he put out. I don't, could have been social media, whatever, I don't know. But Alice says, well, we all know that time is going to take us rockers, but when the giants fall, it's really hard to accept. Even though everybody saw it coming with Ozzy, it just took our breath away when it happened. So, Ozzy and family, your records and your music and your legend and all that you brought, the humor to the rock business, will live on forever and we're going to miss you, man. This was right before hitting the stage in Wales. So they were, across the big pond, getting ready to hit the,
Right.
getting ready to hit the stage, and then they hear about it. They in turn dedicated their performance last night in Ozzy's memory while sharing the news with the crowd, some of whom were just learning about Ozzy's passing in real time. I couldn't even imagine. Um, Gojira were also playing in Istanbul, and it was the same thing. He told the audience, I just heard, and I don't know if it's been confirmed, that Ozzy just died. So I'm sorry. This is crazy. This one is for Ozzy. And then they went on and performed a song, only to later on took on Black Sabbath's Under the Sun and Every Day Comes and Goes as yet another nod to Ozzy's historic career. You sent me one earlier, which wasn't necessarily a performance. And I'm not talking about the one where I responded to. Um, I'm talking about the other one you sent because I watched
Right.
it. I clicked on it, and
Did you?
impressive. I mean, this isn't rock. This isn't metal. And for those that don't know who I'm talking about, I'm talking about Lady Gaga.
Right.
Did you watch it?
No, I didn't. I sent it to you almost as a joke, but now that you bring it up, it is fascinating that somehow Ozzy transcended even into that genre and affected Lady Gaga. However you whatever you saw, I didn't see it.
So what she did, I guess, at the end of her night, whatever the performance, she comes out with all of her band, the dancers, everybody. They come to the middle of the stage, they bow, good to go, thank you very much. She comes out rocking an Ozzy shirt with Ozzy playing in the background, and that's what she left with. She didn't sing, she didn't perform, a Sabbath or a Ozzy solo tune. She just came out, walked out to that, and everybody's like, heck yeah, but she's showing her support. Again, not metal, not rock, an artist showing the influence
Right.
that Ozzy
Right.
had.
But doing it in such a way that it didn't detract attention away from the point.
Right.
She comes out with a shirt, she's playing a song, and that's it. I like that. I like that subtlety.
Exactly. I heard this on the way home from work today. Wolfgang was on Ozzy's Boneyard, and they already had an audio clip of him. He found out about it, and over the course of 2 hours, and if you remember, I think him and his band played Iron Man, I think, when Ozzy was going into the Hall of Fame.
Okay, yeah.
I think so. But anyway, over the course of 2 hours from the time they learned about Ozzy's death until showtime, they learned music and lyrics of Mama, I'm Coming Home, and then performed it that night at the show. And I don't remember where they were. They may have been in Connecticut. Um, but they learned it just to be able to have that and do that for him.
You know, you just mentioned Wolfgang, but that made me think of his dad, Eddie. That's
Eddie.
See, that's another one that
How
you
soon we
know,
forget.
right? Exactly. Um, because these things happen so fast and they fade. But yeah, that left a hole. That was a big
Yeah,
hole,
that was.
and it still is because we talk about now Nuno being the new Eddie. Nuno's been around how long? Nuno Betancourt been around since the '80s, and he is all of a sudden the new Eddie Van Halen.
Right.
Uh, but that was as big as this, I would say, because that guy transcended what guitar playing was.
Yeah.
And Ozzy does it in a different way with a stage presence and how he sings and the whole creation of metal with Black Sabbath. You know, so yeah, there's three we named right there that left just huge crater-like holes. Not only on the music scene, but beyond that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Def Leppard even jumped in on it. They launched into a brief acoustic version of Changes at their performance last night in Saratoga Springs, New York, and then followed that up with Two Steps Behind. So if you've never seen Def Leppard, they do this mini acoustic set, usually right in the middle of their performances, and to throw a little rendition of Changes in there is very cool. And some of this footage is available online. I'm trying to see if this is on here. If it's not on here, I'm going to talk about it anyway because um, it was pretty cool. Someone, okay, Dave Matthews Band, same thing. They covered Changes in Crazy Train. I'm not a Dave Matthews Band fan. Don't like him, can't stand him. But it's the transcending again.
Yeah, right. I can't even
Elton,
imagine what that would sound like.
you can see it because there's some clips out there. I'm
I
not going
can't
to
even.
play it.
That's fine, but I can't imagine it.
And of course, other than calling out CEOs for being with their lovers, Coldplay,
They're
Coldplay did it.
back. They're back.
No, no, they're not. Um, they did a version of Changes as well. Everybody, jumps onto that song. There's the Lady
All of a
Gaga
sudden.
thing. The who was I getting ready to talk about? Oh, Elton John. Elton John
Yeah.
was a good friend. He's released this statement and all that. One of the most interesting, I guess, tributes that I saw was from Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, so there we go. We're transcending again into pop. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
she was at a show in Raleigh, North Carolina, and she comes out and she's got her phone in her hand and she's playing an Ozzy track over the microphone. She's got her microphone. She's holding her phone, just holding it, playing it for the crowd. And the crowd is singing along. So, what does that tell you there as well? It's not just the artist,
Right.
it's the fans.
It's the fans. They know who this guy is or was. It's not just because you're getting that reaction from the fans. You mentioned Lady Gaga's fans, cheering when she comes out in the shirt because they know.
Yeah.
They know.
And it's not like you could just see a little bit where it said, Zebra. She had it flailed open. I mean, her jacket was off. You could literally see, Ozzy Osbourne. She wasn't hiding it, and everybody saw it. So,
and a lot of these people too, because it's not a pristine thing, in rock where everyone gets along. We're going to have disputes and firings and whatever. But even guys that haven't communicated with Ozzy in years, are now, coming out and talking about stuff like this. I mentioned Bob Daisley. He had come out and talked about, we haven't spoken years and we've had all these issues, but still, Ozzy's Ozzy and we had this relationship. Um, Jakey Lee is another one. And maybe you've got it pulled up. I don't, but
I do.
there was a story about the last text that he sent Jake after the show, which I always like the fact that he was able to be there for the final concert.
Yeah.
There's a lot of to do about who was and wasn't invited, kind of thing, because of the guitar players that he had and such. But Jake made it, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Jakey Lee, as you mentioned him, he was on Facebook and shared the text that he got from Ozzy as he was sitting in an airport heading back home 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, after the concert. The text read as follows: "Hi Jake, I'm so sorry I couldn't spend more time with you on the weekend, but it was really chaotic. I would really like to see you when I eventually get back to LA. Just to shoot the shit. It's been so long since we saw each other. Where are you living these days? Because the last thing I heard was you were living in Las Vegas. How did the gig for you how did the sorry, this is exactly how it was wrote, so I'm trying to read it too. How did the gig for you on Saturday? I really hope you had fun anyway. I will text you when I eventually get back to LA and we must hook up. Much love and respect, Ozzy."
And
What do you mean Ozzy Osbourne has a heart?
But what does that tell you? That tells you that Ozzy was still looking forward.
Right.
He's talking about going back to LA. He's talking about, talking to old friends and things like that. And, and I've mentioned this to a few people, but do you find it really interesting that right after this show happens, Back to the Beginning happens, right after that, we're just a few weeks away and Ozzy passes. Almost like this is what he was holding on for.
So this has been mentioned. Um, a lot of people are saying that and nobody knows the truth. Nobody knows, but everybody's saying, man, he knew. He knew this is why he did this. This is why he did a number of songs off of his solo efforts. This is why he did the Sabbath thing and, didn't want to do it until, you know, everybody got together. So I, I don't know, but yeah, it sucks,
Yeah,
because
it
we
does.
were just two weeks ago celebrating how
Celebrating.
badass of a show this was, how awesome it was, all these people, and just talking smack about it, and how much we couldn't wait to see it when it comes out for home video or whatever,
Right. Right.
and here we are.
How many people are now going to watch that, whether you
Oh,
didn't before? When it comes out on streaming or Blu-ray or however you're going to watch it. Oh my gosh, how many people? And if they put that back up for charity and donate that money, they'll raise just as much money as they did when it originally broadcast.
absolutely. Pam, who is in the chat, just says, "My first knowledge of Black Sabbath / Ozzy was the release of 'We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll.' The moment I heard it, I was hooked for life." And for those that don't know, that's a compilation album of Black Sabbath, and
Black
of course,
Sabbath.
it's got basically everything that you could ever imagine or want out of Sabbath, and what an album.
I didn't know anything up until college,
Right.
except Paranoid and Iron Man and Crazy Train, I think, and just dug deep like you do in college with music. That's where I learned a lot about what I know about music was college.
Sure.
But yeah, just dug deep into the Ozzy catalog, the Sabbath catalog, and that's where I got hooked. And I saw him, and I will still pick on it. I saw him on the No More Tours tour. That would have been what, 92 or so. I think Wes had mentioned it. And
Yeah.
that may have been the show he was at because I was there. And I knew then that was not going to be the last tour. He at that point in time, I'm not sure how old he was then, but he wasn't by any means, in his, golden years
Yeah,
at that point. I think when people say that, they say it as a marketing tool, but they also say it because they're burned out.
absolutely.
They're burned out, and when you tour, record, and that's your cycle for 10 or 15 years, sometimes you just say fuck it and I'm done.
Yeah.
And then when you get that break and it's all over with, and okay, now we're a year down the road. Oh wait, I was joking. I didn't mean it. Unless you're Kiss, then it's all marketing.
Yeah, 100%. And wait, was it 2002 when Ozzy did his retirement tour?
What was it?
Something like that. I don't remember what it was, but this was it. He wasn't going to do it no more. But he couldn't stay away.
I'll have to look up when that tour was that I saw him, but heck of a show. He almost caused a riot. I will say that because Ozzy, with a live mic sometimes can be dangerous. And somewhere toward the end of the show, I'm at Deer Creek. It's an amphitheater, outdoor. You have a pavilion with seats, and you have a lawn section. And we're on the lawn. The place is packed to capacity. And toward the end of the show, Ozzy screams into that microphone for everyone on the lawn to come up and see him.
Yeah.
And they did. They did. I'm watching this. I think I'm in the pavilion because I turn around and watch these people flood toward the stage. There is a security guard. It is a male who is a good sized man and a petite female. And they link their arms as if to stop this flow of humanity coming toward the stage. They gave up very quickly. They jumped into the seats, and people just flooded. But the thing is, no one got out of hand as far as like jumping on stage or anything like that. They just came up to see Ozzy.
Is November of 19. This is not the No More Tours tour. This was the No Rest for the Wicked tour. November, I had to pull up the dates. November 25th, 1988, Hampton Coliseum in Hampton, Virginia. That was my first, I guess, real dive and introduction to Ozzy. Heard of him, never listened, but that
Oh
was
wow!
that was the first. So we're talking. When did that album come out?
Which tour? Which album?
No Rest for the Wicked, 88.
Yeah, that would have been 88.
So I dove into that album because I'm. Everybody knows, around that time is when everybody
That's
was.
that's the lesser known album too of his catalog. A little
Yeah,
bit.
which was one of my absolute favorite. But that is what you talked about, Miracle Man being on there. That album and diving into that is what got me into Ozzy. And like you said, digging back into those catalogs and saying, oh, he was in a band before he was just Ozzy.
Right,
I
right.
thought that this song that was Black Sabbath, without knowing, because it's not like you could look it up on the interwebs. I thought that was Ozzy. I mean, it was Ozzy, but I thought it was just Ozzy solo. Ozzy Osbourne, not Black Sabbath. And then to learn the rest of it, it was like, holy crap! What have I done?
That was Zach's first album with him, Zach
Yeah,
Wild. And that's another thing we could bring up is the people that rubbed elbows with Ozzy that became household names. Randy Rhoads. Of course, we talked about Jakey Lee. Brad Gillis was in that band for that guitar spot briefly. And then,
Randy
and then
Castillo
Zach.
was on drums.
Right, right. The original band, Blizzard of Oz, which was what that band was, that was an all-star band of sorts.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's also another name on here, John Sinclair, who has been a keyboardist for, excuse me, I don't know how many bands,
Forever.
but he was during during that previous tour, the one I was just talking about. He was a keyboardist for Ozzy. You know, and this is another
Yeah.
guy that gets around, but he doesn't get the accolades because he's just a keyboard player.
Well, and then one person that he helped practically put on the map with one song, Lita Ford.
Yeah.
Lita Ford was established as a solo artist prior to Close My Eyes Forever,
Right.
but not to the level she was after that song.
No. And I'm not taking
And
anything away from Lita, but I mean,
no, nothing at all.
being part of the Runaways and then, you know, leaving that and becoming your solo thing, she had Kiss Me Deadly.
Right, right, which was the same record.
Yeah. But
The
that was
same
I
record.
think that was maybe the first and maybe only other single from that record. I don't know. I don't remember.
Blueberry.
Oh, yeah.
So when you think about her, she was already being overshadowed by Joan Jett. Yeah,
Yes.
and hadn't really got her footing, you know, until rubbing elbows with Ozzy and getting that song. So what? I don't have it up.
At Viper. We were talking about Lita and you know her getting more after the song with Ozzy. He said that's because she went to a party one Saturday night. I'll let you continue.
Right.
You know how that went, but yeah, leave it to Viper.
Do you remember that video? Close My Eyes Forever. Yeah,
Oh, do I ever? No, not only was it in heavy rotation on MTV,
yeah.
but heck yeah, I remember that video. It was badass.
Right. So one of the things I remember is the ripped jeans that Lita had.
Yes.
She's got I mean, these things are shredded. She looks great in them, right? Um, and that's kind of where the ripped jean thing came. I think was from her. But there's a fun story about those jeans. She got those off a telephone pole worker who was yeah, working on a telephone pole, and she drives by and sees him up there with these kick-ass jeans, and he climbs down and talks to her, and she ends up getting his pants off of him, and he's like, "Well, I got a bunch of them. You want more?" And I think he got several pair to her. The stuff he wore to work and wore them out so bad from going up and down the telephone pole that Lita takes them and makes them into a fashion trend. You know, this guy's just working. You want my crappy jeans for how much? And she paid him a significant amount of money for these crappy ripped up jeans. Started a fashion trend.
Yeah. Because the next thing you know, you could buy them in JCPenney
Exactly.
instead of just, you know, making them yourself at home.
Or accosting a utility worker.
Utility worker. Yeah. I mentioned earlier, I had it just pulled up. I mentioned about Elton John having a tribute to Ozzy. In fact, what he said on, excuse me, on the Instagram was that Ozzy was a dear friend and a huge trailblazer who secured his place in the pantheon of rock gods, a true legend. And he also added, and I alluded to this earlier, that Ozzy was one of the funniest people he'd ever met. Um, Ron Wood, Rolling Stones, who was also at the concert, the Sabbath concert, he wrote something similar. He said, "So very sad to hear what a lovely goodbye concert he had." So it was kind of cool to see something because these are icons in themselves. Elton John,
Right.
Ron Wood,
Right.
who's what? It doesn't say how old he is, but
He's up there.
yeah, I have to look now.
You know something else? Heavy Metal, the movie, has been mentioned a couple times,
He's
but
78.
we haven't mentioned the maybe the most famous appearance Ozzy had, which was in the decline of Western civilization, right? Like, remember that famous scene where he's cracking eggs and making breakfast in the kitchen, and
I've never seen bacon smoke so much in my life.
and no one can understand a word. We've got subtitles, don't we, to see what he's saying?
Yeah, but nor have I ever seen anybody pour orange juice the way Ozzy did.
You know, and I don't know how inebriated he was during that filming or whatever, but also when I think of his people talking about his sense of humor, things like that pop up because you know that also could be a rib, you know, in a sense.
Well, let's add a little bit of credence to what you just said, because rumor has it that scene was scripted.
I heard that, yes. You know, that whole thing was scripted. I heard a lot of that movie was like that.
Right. Yeah.
Chris Holmes. He talks about it.
Yeah. But so does that not add a little bit more to his sense of humor?
Exactly.
Because Prince of Darkness isn't going to do that. I don't, miss my glass of OJ. But yeah, and if you look at the smoke now, then it looks like dry ice.
Oh, well, there you go. It could be, you know, that's funny. But even the famous story of snorting ants and pissing on the Alamo and all that stuff, you know, they just have the feel of someone just being a prankster. You know, that kind of feel, whether he's inebriated or not. You know,
I got to I had to check on something. There's something here that I was going to pull up. I've had it like in one of the windows because I thought it was okay. So this was right after the announcement, of course, of Ozzy's death. And this is courtesy of Loudwire. This is who I'm getting this from. I'm shocked. I didn't know this. Kind of cool because this is what happens when we have a tragedy. This is when people come out of the woodworks. Not always to say anything bad. Sometimes it's like, oh man, here's this. Here's a piece of this person's history. Here's part of his humanity. Here's her heart of gold. And this that came out, I'm not gonna paraphrase. I'm just gonna read it straight up. Thank you, Loudwire. Ozzy Osbourne may not have longed to go country, but that doesn't mean he didn't have any country music friends. John Carter Cash, who is Johnny Cash's son, shared a memory of his father with the Crazy Train singer, Ozzy. There have been many country tributes. I'm going to see if I can find this. Okay. A story. I'm just now reading this for the first time as well. A story at the Vintage Not Art Facebook thread tells of Johnny Cash and Ozzy Osbourne meeting at the Betty Ford Clinic in 1986. The original source for Osbourne's quote about the meeting and his appreciation for Cash is not known. However, so we'll ask you to read it with some level of skepticism. Osbourne says, allegedly, he was just so cool. I mean, here's the guy who's done everything I've done. Drugs, booze. But he still had this aura about him. He gave me hope. So whether or not Ozzy actually said that may never be clear, but Cash's son, John Carter Cash, did confirm that his father knew Osbourne. A whole lifetime has passed since this night, he wrote on Facebook. My father, at Johnny Cash, knew Ozzy Osbourne, and Dad actually went to the concert with us. I was a monstrous heavy metal fan, and Ozzy was my favorite vocal artist. There is a photo. There is a photo that I'm looking at right now, and I don't see Johnny Cash in it. Now I see the son. I don't see Johnny Cash. He goes, this was actually the second time I met him. Unforgettable memory, may the music live on forever. The picture looks to have been snapped backstage at a concert in the mid-1980s that would put Osbourne at the height of his solo career. Actually, his tattoo is still nice and bright and blue. Cash was known to cover rock songs on his late career American Recordings albums, though he never covered an Ozzy or Black Sabbath song. Let's say it's true.
Okay.
How badass.
Well, I know.
One of the original outlaws of country.
Well, and that says a lot about Johnny Cash too, because he never met a stranger. This is a guy who has done every drug known to man. Known for his drug issues, and also known for his Christianity and his faith. And Ozzy is not known for that at all.
Right.
He's the Prince of Darkness, but it didn't matter to Johnny. It didn't matter to
Yeah.
Johnny Cash at all. He found a brother in rehab. Let me
Sorry.
ask you this question.
Sidetracked real quick. Go ahead.
Um, since we're actually shockingly doing well on time, uh, do you have a favorite Ozzy record? And if you in the chat, if you have a favorite one, throw it out there.
That's hard for me.
Not as hard for me. Diary of a Madman was brilliant.
I did like
Brilliant.
that. I want to go back to No Rest for the Wicked, only because that's what started it all for me. I could do the same thing with Motley Crue and say my favorite is Theater of Pain, because that's what first got me into
Right.
rock and that whole era back in whatever that was, 86, 85.
Yeah, about 85,
Somewhere.
84.
Yeah. But to say that No Rest for the Wicked is my favorite, yeah, sure, it was then. But after doing the whole catalog, I can't say, because I just, there's not a song of Ozzy's that I don't like. Is there a song that I'm tired of hearing? Hashtag Iron Man? Yes, absolutely.
Right.
But
Osmosis, I liked a lot.
Yep.
That's a great record. And I felt like that was almost a resurgence, right there.
Sure.
I talked to earlier about the No More Tours show I went to. That was in 1992. The Retirement Sucks tour was 95. So he had a little time off, decided retirement sucked. But
Pam says Diary of a Madman.
It's an excellent record.
Yeah.
I listened to Bark at the Moon about a week ago, because Jake coming back kind of prompted me to listen to that one. And you know what? It didn't hold up as well as I remember. Not that it's a bad record, but it didn't hold up as well. Diary's 10 times better. And that one and Blizzard are just masterpieces. And again, those two records created a type of pop metal rock that we hadn't heard. If you think about it, where have you ever heard that type of music on the radio?
Yeah. And we're talking. What was the term I read earlier today? There was a term that was used, almost like synthopop. That wasn't it, but it was something like that.
And No More Tears is the other one I like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Now this is Sabbath, but I really liked 13.
I never listened to that one.
Oh,
I never got around to it.
My opinion, you have to.
Well, that'll be on the agenda for tomorrow, but yeah, I don't recall hearing anything like, if you think about when Diary came out, not Diary, but Blizzard came out. What was coming out that sounded like that, with that guitar work, that vocal, those types of songs that are, soaring and melodic and, uninhibitedly Ozzy. There was nothing like it.
Yeah. I had something else up here.
And that's why you have to have the standard for guitar players after Randy Rhoads passed. And and that affected him. That affected Ozzy for years, and it shows. I think a lot too the bond that he has with a lot of people that have worked with him is that he feels so much for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The every social media platform imaginable has been flooded. It's funny because there was a comment. Who was it? Oh, it had to be Viper. I think Viper said something about his social media feed was being flooded by, I'll just say it, by Coldplay because of that whole monstrosity that maybe we'll get into
The
next
memes
week.
that never end.
But it was this unfortunate happening that, cleared that stuff out. There is not a social media platform out there that does not have just a bombardment of even random, like our friends list. There's some people on our friends list because we have a bunch of mutuals, but there's some from I would have never imagined that they would have put something up, oh, I can't believe something just happened to Ozzy. And I'm like, when did you listen to him? Not
Exactly.
that it matters, but
Right.
you get that possessive feeling because you're the you're the metalhead. This is your stuff, and
I don't know. Is Kathy still in the chat?
I don't know, Kathy, are you still there?
Because I have a story of what she would have done if the store was still open. Because you're talking about people that may or may not have ever listened to that person. But when a significant rock star died, like Eddie Van Halen, uh, people tend to just flood wherever and want to buy everything up. And, these are people that didn't care 10 minutes ago about any of it. Kathy would get so possessive about the memory and the music of that person, she would pull all of those records off her shelves and not make a dime on the death of Eddie Van Halen, or in this case, Ozzy Osbourne, because to her, that was like stepping on his grave.
Yeah.
Because you didn't care 10 minutes ago. Now you care. I always thought that was really, really passionate of her about the music and how she felt about it.
Well, and there's been some posts that I've seen where people are like, "Hey, go get Ozzy's stuff. Let's make him number one again." And I get what you're saying. I understand what she did, but it's like, why did it take so long? Why are you just now in the face of loss
Right.
ready to say, "Oh, I was an Ozzy fan forever"? Come on.
In a way, I guess, I don't know. People just want to be involved in the moment, like the whole meme thing with Coldplay. We want to be involved in the moment, but
that's funny. That's a funny situation.
It is. It is.
Unless you're
Right.
involved in it. But I mean, that is a funny situation that's not capitalizing or trying to get attention over somebody's death. Now, did we, as the Weekly Pour podcast, did we put things out in regards to Ozzy? Absolutely. But we're not saying, is this episode, this entire hour about Ozzy? Yes.
Right.
But that's because we're fans. We're fans first before we're ever freaking podcast hosts. We were fans long before we decided to try to go into this whole radio thing.
Right.
And so yeah, it's cool. But some of these people, stop.
My daughter had a roommate in college that when The Dirt came out, now, and my daughter is a metal fan and knows these bands.
Right.
When The Dirt came out, she had a roommate that came in talking about the Motley Crue and how much she loved Nikki Swift.
Oh,
and this is only because Netflix had a movie. Did you? Whatever. We're telling sincere stories about what got us into the music. Someone that listened to a Black Sabbath record and it really pulled him in, or I listened to an Ozzy record, that kind of thing. But when you can't even pay attention to The Dirt long enough to get the name right.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, thanks for sticking around with us for the last hour. That was probably the fastest hour that we've ever done. It took 60 minutes and it felt like about 20 minutes. I really hope that we don't have to go through this again with another artist for a very long time, because I don't want to do it. This was enough. This was enough. If you want something to watch, go back and watch the clips of Ozzy's final performance. If you want to see some of the stuff went on after his death, go watch the. It's about a 9 to 10 minute interview with Gene Simmons. That's
I saw that.
about 9 minutes long. Go watch that. Go listen to what Gene Simmons has to say about Ozzy Osbourne. And you want to see another 70-year-old man get choked up over the loss of Ozzy. Highly recommend you go watch it. And it's music history. Unfortunately, we're a part of it, being here and doing this. And sometimes it sucks, but keep the memory alive. Keep listening to Ozzy. Just don't profit off of it. It sounds right.
Right.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back next week with episode 145 of the Weekly Poor Podcast. We're getting close to 150. And you know what else? We may have a phone number coming out soon where you can call and leave messages.
Really?
Yeah.
Not mine.
So Ace's number is